Let's look at the concluding parts of a formal letter. How do you conclude a formal letter? In the previous episode, we have talked about the introduction and the body presentation of a formal letter. So how do we conclude a formal letter? Remember, the last paragraph concludes any type of letter you are writing. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time of watching this video, this is a complete series on WAEC and NECO English language. Useful hints are given to you as candidates who has registered for this examination coming soon. Useful hints will be given to you on how to answer English language questions. Remember, the goal is to earn a good mark that can take you further in your studies. So, let's look at the concluding part of the formal letter. What do you write? How do I go about? I've written the first, I've written the second, I've written the third, I've written maybe the fifth. Now I want to conclude. How do I conclude a formal letter? Concluding an informal letter is different from the conclusion we have in formal letter. Of course, very simple. What do you have to do? Usually the last paragraph concludes your letter, just like I've said. If you are asked to write an application letter, let's say, for example, you're trying to apply in a company and you are asked to write about it, how do you conclude it? You could say your conclusion could be a play, depending on the question, just like I repeatedly say that how do I know how to write what I'm asked to write? It's from the questions given to you. You look at the questions critically. You don't go below what you have been asked to write. And you don't also have to be careful so that you don't go beyond too. So critical thinking calls for here. You need to look at it. Is this an application letter? Is this a query letter? Is this a demand letter? Is this an apology letter? From the question given to you, you will know which type of letter you are asked to write. So, for example, let's say you are soliciting help from a manager, or let's say from your governor or from your local government chairman. You can end the letter with a plea. It could be a plea. Again, you reiterate it again. You could end the letter by appealing, by making a plea, or an anticipatory remark. An anticipatory remark talks about your hopefulness in what you have asked for. If it's a type of letter that asks you to demand for something, an anticipatory remark could be a good deal for you, or a piece of advice. Let's say you are asked to offer an advice, maybe to your manager, to your boss, about a critical issue in your company or in the factory. You can end your concluding paragraph with such a piece of advice. Oh, I will advise, if this is done, then it will be better for the upliftment of the company, and things like that. So it could be a plea, depending on that type of letter. If it's a demanding one, a type of letter that asks for things, an anticipatory remark, or a piece of advice. For example, if it's an application, let's say you are writing for an application, you are hoping to work somewhere. I will be very grateful if my application is favorably considered. This concluding sentence could be written if you're asking or you're applying for a position. I will be very grateful if my application is favorably considered. This will go a long way for your recipient to take a look at your letter. With this, you are not pompous, you are not proud, you are pleading, you are asking that your application be considered. Another thing not to forget when you are concluding your formal letter are these items. These items forms part of your conclusion. Just like you've written in your informal letter, it's also important that you do not forget to include these items. It's part of your concluding paragraph. The first here is the subscript. How is your subscript written? How must it be written in formal letter? Your subscript simply talks about yours faithfully. Yours faithfully. I will advise to just stick with this yours faithfully, so as not to really confuse yourself. Just stick to this. Yours, the Y, letter Y in uppercase, then this in lower case. Don't forget that, please. You see some students writing the Y in small letter in lower case. Please do not do that. Yours faithfully. Then your punctuation, comma. Punctuation forms part of your markings, of you earning a good mark. Remember, you want to earn a good mark. You want to make your papers once. So yours faithfully. After the yours faithfully, of course, this is going to be written beneath, under the last paragraph, a line or two after. That's the right hand corner. The signature of the writer. Your signature is important. You all have signatures, I guess. So you put your signature after the yours faithfully, your signature, the writer's name in full. You can spell out the difference between the formal and informal. In informal letter, only your name is required. But in formal letter, you have to include both names, your surname, and your surname, depending on how you want to write it. So I put an example here. George Adams. George Adams. So whichever, maybe this could be your surname and your name. So make sure you remember. And after that, don't forget your full stop. And that concludes your letter. Please do not forget this also form part of the concluding paragraph. You must have your final subscript, your signature, and the writer's name in full. Pay attention into details. Pay attention to all this. On a final note, I want us to pay attention to this. So far we have talked about the introductory parts of a formal letter, the body, and the conclusion. But on a final note, let's pay attention to this. The language of a formal letter. How is the language of a formal letter? How does it look like? Is there a difference between the language of an informal letter and a formal letter? Of course, the language is different, just like we have in your informal. It's chatty, it's friendly, and all that. In informal letter, it's not chatty, it's not friendly. Why? Because it is an official letter. So the language of a formal letter must be formal. Please do not forget that. Most times you see candidates mixing up their language. Another expression, you'll be losing your marks. You'll be losing your marks. You don't want to lose that mark. You want to earn good marks. So you have to pay attention to that. The language of a formal letter must be strictly formal. Colloquialism, jargons are not acceptable. You know those words that you say to your friends, how far? How you dey? You know those languages that are peculiar to your friends at school and all that. Not acceptable, not permissible. So be careful with your fingers and be careful with your pen. No room for colloquialism. It is acceptable in informal and even must be used minimally when writing an informal letter. So no jargons, no colloquialism, no language of a particular community. These sorts of items are not allowed in formal letter. Also, we talked about the shortening of auxiliary verbs. The shortening of auxiliary verbs are not allowed. It is allowed in informal. What are those auxiliary verbs? I've stated some here. I will still state more when I exemplify it in the model. Have, I would, I will. You can see that I have make sure they are written in full. It is strictly official. Make sure you write your auxiliary verbs. If you write this, when we are conversing, we make use of these auxiliary verbs a lot when conversing, when we're in communication, and allowed also in informal. But in formal, these are not allowed. This is not allowed. Write them in full. Don't be in a hurry. Yes, you are running against time, but at the same time, you want to earn good marks. You want to make your papers at once. So make sure they are written in full. Your auxiliaries that you write before, your pronouns, make sure you write them in full, just as it is exemplified here. Also, present tense. Make use of your present tense. Your present tenses must be made use of. Please don't forget that. You only make use of a past tense when you are making reference. Let's say you are applying for a job, you must have seen the advertisement somewhere. You can make reference to it. Let's say, for instance, dated so date. I saw on the advert on a particular newspaper, dated. Yes, in that occasion, if you are making reference, of course, you have to make use of your present tense. But for that, if you are not making reference, please make sure your present tenses are used. Do not forget that. You only do that if you are making reference or you are talking about a historical event. You are referring to an historical event in your letter. Aside this, the present tenses are the only tenses acceptable, allowed when writing a formal letter. So far, we have looked at what the scope of a formal letter is, how the features looks like, how a language of a formal letter looks like, and also some of the things that you are not supposed to say or you are not supposed to write. Some of the language, we have looked at the scope, we have looked at the features, we have looked at the introductory, the body, and the concluding parts, and also the language. Very straight to the point letter. Straight to the point, and at the same time, you are making great points so as to earn a good mark. If you have found this episode useful, please do well to comment in the section below. Please do not forget to like this broadcast. Please share this broadcast. Many of your friends are out there. Please, this is the holidays time. This is the vacation period. Make use of this platform to educate, for self-study, and to make yourself better for the forthcoming examination. Do not forget to like, share, and let me know, what do you view? What are your views concerning this series that you have been watching on English language as far as NECO and WAEC examination is concerned? Until I see you in my next series, continue to be the best version of yourself and keep learning. Please study hard and study smart. See you in my next video. Bye.